Okay, time to stop procrastinating.
Okay, councillors, yeah, I did that thing which we have now all done where we suddenly don't make a video for an age and then suddenly do again. So I guess we'll go straight in with politics. Now in Gregor's last video, we talked a bit about the idea of Scottish independence, which I personally am opposed to. I'm not going to go much into those reasons, we've already covered that, but I'm just going to comment quickly on the fact that we're going to have the vote now. That's a definite thing, which is happening in 2014. Now what I take issue with here is not the fact that we're having this vote, which I would quite happily not have, but the fact that there isn't an option of Devo Max there. It's just a, do you want independence? Yes, no. And that just seems like a really stupid idea, because Devo Max is basically what the majority of the people want. It's what will make the most people happy, it'll appease the people who feel underrepresented, but for everyone else, the people who don't want to split off and so on, are going to be happy with the fact that we are still part of the UK, and yet we have this kind of autonomy to accept that we are in some ways a separate people. And that interestingly links in to the other idea that Gregor was talking about in his last video, which was the idea of a global community as a whole, rather than just separating off into our own countries and staying close to everybody else. Because the other thing is the US elections, which are of course coming up imminently. In fact, we will have the results a week tomorrow. Now, this is coming quite close, and well, it's something to talk about really, isn't it? Because it means that there is a small possibility that the most powerful man in the world might be Mitt Romney. I don't want to alarm anyone here, just that it is worryingly close. I'm only going to sort of quickly skip over the fact that he blatantly lies in debates and has absolutely no real clear policy, or at least that which is part of his policy, well, it's kind of vague. He'll say one thing, then he'll say the opposite thing. And the fact that his entire campaign seems to revolve entirely around his saying that he knows what it takes. When, I mean, we could kind of do with some explanation of what that is and how he plans to do it. Now, I know that none of this economic stuff actually affects us as British citizens. However, the way that this relates to what Gregor said is that whoever wins this election is going to be the most powerful man in the world. Now, that's not just like running one country. This is the world. Now, obviously, I can understand why Americans don't want us just sort of voting in their political system. They don't want our intervention, obviously, with good reason. But at the same time, I kind of wish that we had some kind of a say of who the most powerful man in our world was. It doesn't change the fact that whoever wins this election has control of a very large number of nuclear weapons. So for those people who are in the UK and don't take an interest in American politics, that is why you should, because it doesn't just affect America, it affects all of us, whether we have a say in it or not. So, I'm supporting Barack Obama. I can't vote for him, but I'm absolutely terrified of the prospect of Mitt Romney becoming the most powerful man in the world. So, yeah. The other topic to cover briefly, for Corey's sake, school, and this being the big year. No, S4 is not the biggest year, because people are going to tell you that now, and then it's going to come through to S5, and everybody's going to be saying that this is the most important, biggest year in your academic life. And then they're going to say it again in S6. Now look at it this way. I sat my hires at school over 2 years. In the end, in spite of this, I left school with 1 hire. Has that since had any effect on my life? No, absolutely not at all. Nobody is going to be like, oh, this person only has 1 hire, when I have a HND with distinction in music. The fact is that while I had to take a lower course arriving at college instead of going straight into university, I've only really lost 1 year on all of the people in my year in school. I just had 1 extra year on top of that, and well, it's done me fine. And I will be graduating with an ordinary degree with them, without honours, certainly, yes, but still. The fact is that this is what teachers don't want you to know. If you do badly in S4 and S5, it is not the end of your life or your world. It's just the move on to a different route. A route which might suit you better than the normal one of going through standard grades, higher, advanced higher, university. It is a different route because the fact is, your decisions here will have some impact on your life, but you can study anything else, anywhere, in your own time. These decisions happen now, but they can be gone back on later. You have time, everyone has time to just completely change their life. I have one lecturer in college who originally went into accountancy, then came out because they weren't enjoying it and studied music because that's what their passion was. I'm sure that if you told Hank Green when he left school that this was where he was going to go in his life, he was going to become an internet guy, he'd have, I'm sure, understood that he might be going into environmental issues, but I don't think he'd have thought that he would be a professional video blogger with his brother. And I don't think that John Green would have believed that either. He might have thought he would end up writing at some point, but I don't know if he ever thought that he would manage to get that step out of writing reviews into actually getting published novels. So in short, you never know where life is going to take you. I don't know where life is going to take me. I have no idea where I'm going to end up. I am doing music, but that's a competitive industry. I have no idea if I'm actually going to manage to make a career out of it. I'm sure that Gregor will say the same thing, being from the same kind of area. But there we go. That's been Life and Politics with me. It's been a while. Goodbye! Now this is just going to be a quick side note because I'm aware that this is already what you would call a long-ass video, but I would like to hear thoughts on the lowering of the voting age in Scotland for the independence vote to 16, because that's something that I forgot to mention, which was just lost among the whole massive list of other things that I wanted to talk about. Another thing which I've cut out a lot about is Obama and people's losing their confidence in him or something. I have thoughts on that. I'll maybe talk about them in another video, but that's enough for this one. Goodbye.